Hey guys, it's been a while since I've made a video, but I'm making this video especially because people want to work on their Ares G36 and I want to just show pretty much everything in a quick video and with the zoom up. So before the dog starts barking, we'll just quickly jump into it. First things I'm going to do is get to the gearbox. So let's go ahead and flip this over. Pop out some pins with my thumb. There are 3 pins. Got one here, here, and here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. And then the this one I have a silencer on, so I got to take it off just so I can pull out the front. Put that to the side. Pull this out, pull it down, and then push out or pull out. And then this part you want to be careful with your wire. The previous person that's been using this has really messed up this barrel. You can see they really cut the thing up here. I don't know what the heck's up with that, what they were doing. Maybe they had a battery hitting into it, but what you're going to do here is there's a wire to be very gentle with, just so you can see me pull it out. So you don't want to make it more fragile than it is. Then this part here, what you're going to do is open the back. I had to think for a second. And this might try to jump out, so take this part out, set that aside, pull the gearbox downwards, and you can see that came out with no effort. This thing in here is going to slide back and forth, so I usually just take it out for the time being. Close that up and put that to the side. Okay, make sure that that doesn't fall. There we go. Alright, so here's what we're going to work on. Looking at it, it looks to be in great shape. We're going to do it real quick. So, next thing we're going to have to do is take out a pin. Pin's right here, just so you can see where the pin is. Right here, I'm sorry. Right here. You don't need to hit it hard. It's going to start to come out pretty easily. Okay, at this point, what you're going to want to do is unscrew the bottom next. So, screwdriver for that. And you want to unscrew the, let's see here, it comes out like this, so you need to unscrew all of 3 of these. I had to think for a second. Using the Phillips. You do not want to use a flat edge and touch in here. That will adjust your motor head, so do not do that. Actually, if I remember correctly, you do not have to pull off these 2 screws at the edge, just this middle one. Now that I'm trying to remember, I'm going to put this one back. I believe the only thing screwed onto that is that 1 screw. Alright, yeah, you should be able to pull this up. You kind of want to mess with the selector. I usually put it on full auto and then it should start to pull up. Yep. Now here's what you're going to do is you're going to watch real closely think you really do have to unscrew those, huh? I can't remember. Nope. You got to go to semi. Excuse me. So once you go to semi, you can start pulling upwards. And this piece right here, it's the part of the selector on the inside. It's metal. You have to pull it. So pull it this way, and I pull it away from this bar. See, it went back over it. Pull it away from the bar, and then you can slide this out. Be careful to not mess up your wiring. And there it is. Okay. So we're going to do full maintenance. I wouldn't mess with the motor height, but pretty much the full maintenance is going to be everything else. It looks like a bushing might need to be replaced on this. Anyways, let's check it out. There's just a lot of oil there. There's just a lot of oil there. Just kind of hiding it. Okay, so from this point, we're going to flip this over. Here, we're going to undo the motor. There's these two screws. And they have some kind of a metal shroud or something. Metal ring. I don't know what it's called, whatever. Put that to the side. Make sure your wire right here does not get cut from you unscrewing the screw. Oh. Don't lose your screwdriver either. I've been dropping a lot of stuff today. It's one of those days. Alright, so this piece do not want to lose. Come on. And that's the way it goes, of course. Okay. Move the motor out of the way. Here, what you're going to want to do is this piece right here is going to have to be pulled. So there's a little clip on this side. You just touch it, and it should unclip the other side, which holds to the wiring. Put that off to the side. There's also a little plate right here. You don't want to break. You want to just, sometimes I can get it out with my fingers without even trying. If you can't get it out with your fingers, use a small screwdriver. See, I pop one side, and then I just push the screwdriver on the other side, so it really doesn't do anything to it. Got that out. Okay, so you can see what I did was I took this out right here, and I took this out right here, so the gear's exposed. Now, we're going to get into the gearbox. Put your wires in a way that they don't really hurt themselves, bending and so forth. Go ahead and unscrew the gearbox. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like screws. Actually, I keep forgetting this gun is so different from the others. On this gun, we have a spring that we can remove to make this a little less problematic. So you unscrew the back here, and you're going to use a flathead. After you're done using the flathead, come on, there we go. After you're done using the flathead, there is a hex in the back here, and you want to pull that out. So what you're going to need to do is get a tool for it. These usually work for me because I don't know if I have my big hex still. I think I lost it. Yeah, it's not there. So let's do is put it in the back and then push forward and turn, until it will come out. And there we go. Put that to the side. Pull out your spring. Alright, here now we're going to go for the screws. Let's start out at the bottom, doesn't really matter. Just don't undo this one right here, it's not necessary. If you get where your tap-up plate is getting caught and the gun starts to fire and then won't and gets caught again, there's a hex right here that goes to this selector, or this actually is for the spring release tension. It's the anti-reversal latch. This hex screw right here though goes down further and further and it gets into the gearbox, and so you have to pull it up, and then eventually you could glue it to keep that from happening or Teflon tape it. I usually just push it up. It hasn't came back, so I'm assuming it's okay. And you can see this cylinder is ported. The Ares ones are not ported. I put, what is it called? The previous piston head on this one broke and shattered the cylinder head, and the cylinder head was crooked. Now these screws have a little metal, looks like some type of washer, so you don't want to lose that either. Go ahead and pull that out. Keep everything organized so you know which parts go to which. Let's get the back here. And then this piece is where the blowback is. You can disengage that. Now if you wonder which way that goes, this right here is where the piston goes. Right here. It's up against here. And so this is the top half. Piston, the back of the piston hits this and grabs it. So in case that's a wondered where that goes. Alright, so these parts together go together. Just so I won't lose them. Now, I've got 3 minutes of video, so I'm going to have to pause this in a minute. But here's how you would open this. There's no spring tension in the back, so I don't have to worry about that. What you're going to want to do is have a screwdriver and hit, as you're opening, put your thumb right here, and you'll see the trigger kind of comes out. You want to push down the bushings. Sometimes it's the gears, but right now it's just the bushings. So we're going to lift this up, and it should come over no problem. Look at that. No problem. Okay. This is, it looks like another metal washer. I guess the top of the gearbox, all 3 of these screws had little metal washers. It's kind of hard to see. So this is going to go with this. And I'm just going to put it in there for now so I don't lose it. Ah, shoot. And I'm going to pause the video so we can get on to the next. Alright, so that's good. So there's those 3. Alright, so you can see I have the pieces pretty organized on. I know what goes to what. This spring that comes out right here goes on like this. Now I'm losing the spring. Not my day at all. Goes on like that. Just so you can see the big part on the bottom. You keep turning it until it locks on. But there's an easier way to install that, so we're going to worry about that later. I'll take it off and show it to you. Okay, I'm going to pause and go to the next part. Okay, welcome quickly back. Sorry about that. The video had to be deleted. Some video had to be deleted. Okay, so looking at the gearbox real quick, we're going to set this half aside. And you'll notice this is a little bit of a magnet inside of the the motor. So you'll want to set that aside too, not really near anything that can grab it, like screws or nails or anything like that. So here we're looking at the gearbox, and the first thing we're going to do is check the gears. We're going to remove this top half first. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the back of the piston, and you're going to put your finger underneath the air nozzle. Be very gentle because you want to break the air nozzle, and just slowly pick it up. But at the same time, you're going to put your thumb right here to block the spring from bouncing out. There's a spring that wants to come out. Sometimes you can just use a little screwdriver or pliers to grab it up. Just to show the way that went. The top of this is grabbed, and then this grabs from the side. And you'll want to check this. So we're going to check this first. Piston head's in good shape. Piston's in good shape. Yeah, it's greased really well. The inside's good. Now you're going to hold the tappet plate on the air nozzle like so. Excuse me. Like so, and push in. Oh, duh, I'm not thinking today. You gotta put your finger over the air nozzle. Yep, got good compression. It doesn't want to move. So it's ported right here. Port is fine for short barrel. This is the port should be at the back though. That's where the air is going to be taken in and out, and then most of the air here is going to be used. Looking at my air nozzle, good way to check and see. Your air nozzle is really good flow. You can see that when I do the compression test, I hold the air nozzle a little bit forward, because if you hold it tight against the cylinder head, sometimes you cannot tell if there's an O-ring leak. There is no leak, so we're doing pretty good here. So all this is good. Look at your tappet plate, it's good. So the teeth on the piston's good, and the piston head is definitely in good shape. It's a lot harder plastic than the Ares. So this is a garter. G36 won't fit. You'll have to Dremel the top of this. What you want to get is a garter M4, and it will fit perfectly fine. They will come probably with the full, I think the full cylinder head, which will not be an issue either, but what I would do is use the ported if you want to have a little bit more FPS. At the same time, it grabs the air in perfectly at this position. Okay, so let's get moving on here. So we're going to check the gears next. You want to start with the bevel gear because you got the anti-reversal latch. Pull that off and check to see the teeth are all there. There's not really any marks. They're all there. But at the same time, be careful not to lose your bushings and your shims. The bushings are on top. This is a bushing right here. This is the bevel gear, and then underneath that is going to be a shim in between it. So there's also shims on the bottom. You can see there's a shim right here. Don't lose that. Leave the position of it. If you change the shims around, sometimes the motor doesn't come in straight. And if you look at the motor's in good condition. The pinion gear on the motor is in very good condition. It means it's been aligned and it has not been messed with. Check to see your anti-reversal latch spring is very strong. You can see it pulls back. It stays in position. If it keeps popping out, put some gear grease. I have different types, but that one is preferable. gear grease there, and it'll hold in position more. Alright, so now we're going to check the sector gear, because it's next up above. Looks to be in good condition. There's a sector clip here. Now that's for the tappet plate. It hits this and allows it to keep the air nozzle forward so it's ready to shoot. Helps with feeding issues. A lot of the sector gears will have something similar to this. Now there's shims on that too. Oh, don't want to lose the shims, and I'll show you why pretty soon. So put that down. There's a shim there. So just be very careful not to lose those pieces or move them around. Okay, there is a shim here and a gear in the this is a bushing, and a ball bearing. And the way you'll know is the ball bearing has a little lining in it, and if you were able to look inside, you see little balls. What you want to do here is make sure that they're pushed all the way down. Usually people will take these and glue them to the shell here. Keep them in there hard so that their gears will spin a little better. Okay, so we're going to do some maintenance here. We can see there's no problem there. We're going to go ahead and put the gear back in, put the shim back on it. Come on. And then make sure you don't lose it. Put it back in place, spin it. It's not hitting anything. Good. We're going to take out the anti-reversal latch for now. This is how the spring goes on it, if you were ever wondering how it goes on. Let me show a better view from here. That's how it goes on. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. Next, we're going to take a look at the so we put that in there. We're going to take a look at the cutoff lever. The cutoff lever is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this out. This is the trigger. Trying to be careful is what I'm trying to do. And this is what hits your micro switch. This thing goes forward and hits it. Bam. Just like that. Let's see if we can get a zoom in here. Zoom in here. Oh, this is so much better, isn't it? Especially since you're going to be working on the gearbox now. Okay. So what we're going to do here is check the the cutoff lever right here. See that's moving. Now, if you do not match this up with that, what happens is this can get caught and your semi will not work. So you want to make sure that's all the way down. See how it is all the way down. This is not too tight. Screw. And its spring is there connecting to the plate. Be careful not to knock this over. The selector plate on the other side. And you can hold this up and then move your hands with the trying to grab it, the selector plate. There we go. And you can see that if I can get a better hold on it. Move this out of the way for a second. Oh, come on. There it is. So it's definitely working. Okay. Alright, so first thing you want to do is make sure this comes down all the way. Good. Put this back into position. Test it. Always test the part. Okay, good. Next we're going to put back in the bevel gear. Make sure you don't lose the shim that's on it. Next put in the sector gear, and the same thing, do not lose the shim. Test the spin. I don't hear any rattle. You can see it goes real soft and easy. Okay, next you're going to put on this. Take the spring off for right now. And pull this downwards. So it's like this. You want to pull it downwards towards you. So you can slide this back on real quick. Now the reason for this is to get used to gearbox. Alright, we're going to close this right here. There's a screw right here and a screw right here. This should be plenty. Screw these two back on. Now the reason I'm doing this is to show you how to check your shims, your gears, make sure that they're spinning right. The reason being, if they aren't, you're going to be totally screwed and you cannot get your gearbox working. Okay, so what you're going to do here is you're going to take this and put your finger in there and start spinning it. There is no slack whatsoever. I'm going to cut my finger if I'm not careful. It's really sharp. You can just hear no slack. And the gears spin freely, very freely. You want to check also by grabbing the gear, going up and down with it. Sector gear barely goes up and down. Another way you can check is pushing the gear from the bottom. See if it goes up and down a little bit. The bevel gear does a little bit. And you can put your thumb on the top of it and push on the bottom. Cannot feel anything. So the spur gear is in good shape. It's not real tight, but you can tell. And I just barely grab it. It starts going. So I mean, this is good. This is how it is in stock, except I put one more shim here because I didn't like the up and down movement it had previously. Okay, so now the reason you screw this closed is the pressure, or I guess the I don't know how to best say that. It's locked on real tight. Your hands can't hold it that tight sometimes. And so this way you can guarantee that the gears spin properly if you screw them closed, because that's what's going to happen when you finish up with the gearbox. You're going to screw it closed. So let's go ahead and take those back out. Now, a good thing to do here, I'm going to push down these bushings and ball bearings. A good thing to do here is check the motor adjustment. Now the way you do that is you'll put this here and you'll see where the motor comes in place. Now this is actually quite perfect. I don't know how well you can see that. The gear is not doing this. It's not coming up like sideways like that, and it's not too low that it's messing it up. It's just perfect enough height. This is up high enough that it contacts. Let me move this out of the way. That it contacts the spur gear, and the sector gear is contacting the spur gear, and they're just a little bit high enough that they don't touch the gears. Gear to gear teeth is stuck together, so I don't know if I'm saying that best. Let me kind of pull a screwdriver here, and you can look down here. See, I look there, and I look here, and I check to see how much movement there is. I can see that they're just a little bit higher than the spur gear, so no problem there. This meshed completely straight here. Excuse me. Meshed completely straight here. Now, if this part doesn't mesh like this, let me give you an example. Right here. See, it should be like right there. Then what you're going to do is take the screw right here and go up or down with it when you unscrew it, and it will adjust it to go higher or lower. Okay, you want it to be like that. See how it's just barely covering the gear's teeth on the pinion. So just kind of moving quick through here. All right, we've done that. Those tests are really good shape. Go ahead and start to put the other parts in. We already know the compression's good, so pretty much everything's good. We're going to check angle of engagement, just because I want to kind of go over everything. Let's go ahead and put this back in here. And what you're going to do is put the piston all the way forward. I have the cylinder head, piston with the piston head inside, and the air nozzle. There's none of those this air nozzle is not even really necessary, but you just want the piston all the way up against the cylinder head and the piston head in there, so that this is the starting point of the piston. You're going to turn your gears until it racks to it. See right here? And you're probably going to put your finger down on the sector so it doesn't bounce a little bit. And you're going to follow it, the stroke of what it's doing. So it's stroking back right now. Yeah, just making sure it's on there. While you're doing this, you should also check down here to make sure it's shimmed. The sector gear is shimmed high enough, but also not too high, that it meshes with the center of the piston, and it does. There's these little extra teeth marks, or I don't know, not teeth marks, these aligned height teeth. These are actually on this piston. It's made that way. So you want to be below that on this piston, because that's where the middle of the rack is, of the teeth rack. So I'm watching the teeth and making sure they align. See, right here's where you can check. See right there? Okay, and then you're going to look for lift off. Lift off right there. And come back to this position right here. Push that forward. So we know that's going to take off and that's going to work. If it doesn't mesh right here really good, what you're going to want to do is take out the piston and shave the teeth with a Dremel right here where it's not meshing. You just want to make sure that it's going back and forth very well with just your own hand motion and spinning the gears. If it does, then it will go well with the spring. If you do not check that, you could break your piston. You could mess up your gears possibly, and there could be some other potential bad things. So we've checked pretty much everything up to this point. Now we're going to start to put it all back together, and you're going to have your working gearbox. So the first thing you're going to do here is look at your trigger. This thing is a pain in the ass sometimes on this gun. So first thing I do is, here's your trigger. Here's the piece that goes on it. Make sure it's kind of forward like that so it won't come out very easily, see? Lock it in position. And then this piece, the longer piece, actually goes under here. Goes like that. Dang, I'm not being very good with the camera today. See, this is a short end right here, so longer end's on the inside. Okay. Now what you're going to do is, this is kind of tough sometimes, is get this small piece in the little hole on the very right. There's 3 holes. There's one here, and a very tiny one that is almost hidden. And what you can do, what I've done previously, is I usually start it in that little hole. Okay, I've got it there. Now what I'll try to do is push it in. This is kind of my way to see. Push it in until I get it in there. You can kind of see I move the other piece. If your sector gear is in the way for the time being, you can move it out of the way. Don't lose its shims. Okay, so I don't have it in the hole yet. That's why it's not going. It's good to have a little screwdriver and just to push it there. I don't know why this one is short. A lot of the version 3 gearboxes, especially the King Arm ones I have, do not have a short spring here. They have a long one, so this is not nearly as difficult. Alright, I got the first one. Now you have to just kind of do it sideways. Get the second hole match up. And there you go. It's in place. Now what you want to do is get the screwdriver in there and pull the spring upwards so it can come up as high as it can. What that does is stops it from really jumping out of place. It gets it installed correctly too. And it's giving me more pain again. Like almost have it, but do not. There we go. Now see, once you have it in there, it will not move. Oh God, sorry. Try to get it. Okay. Once you get it in there, it's not going to move. See, and you can check it. And you can look at that spring and bring it up. Alright. Okay, this is going to go up here in this position. See, it's not really moving. Okay, next we're going to get the sector gear in position. Make sure that you get the shim that's underneath there and in position. Alright, now if you tap this too much into the trigger right here, this piece, it will start bouncing. And you can get it to actually come undone, so you want to be careful. See, I barely did that. Pull this out. Time to put the anti-reversal latch back in. This little piece right there, this is the piece that's gonna ding ding push back, I guess. Alright, so we're gonna get this in. Now my hands are so oily.